This is Kathy DeBoer, Executive Director at the American Volleyball Coaches Association. This recruiting tip of the week is brought to you by the Great Plains region, an affiliate partner of the American Volleyball Coaches Association. This recruiting tip of the week deals with an issue that is unique to NCAA Division I. For prospects entering their junior year of high school, June 15 is the first date when they can have direct communication with Division I college coaches and when they can discuss scholarship offers. In normal years, this communication could be by phone, in person, or at a camp. But this year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Division I recruiting dead period has been extended all the way to July 31. So the communication can only be by phone, Zoom, or text. That is, there is no face-to-face recruiting on or off campus allowed in Division I until at least August 1. For Division II and Division III, the NAIA, and two-year colleges, a prospect should consult with the coach of a specific program on what is open and allowed in the school's geographic area. We have spoken frequently with Dan Tudor, a consultant to college coaches, and asked him for his advice to prospects. We spoke with him again in late May and asked what he would tell a prospect and her parents about the first phone call they can have with a Division I college coach.
I think, first of all, colleges and college coaches are contacting students to gauge interest and to figure out where they start with the process. And that's where most of our work is studying that process through the college coach's eyes. If we flip it around, I think there's not much difference from the student athlete. The student athlete, I'm an advocate for them taking charge of their process and understanding where they stand with a college coach who's contacting them. So it's one thing to get a call. Are you one of their top 4 or 5 prospects that are being prioritized in that call period, or are they calling 50 other kids? That doesn't mean if on that extreme, if they're calling a lot of other athletes, a lot of other players for their program, it doesn't mean that you're not a strong consideration. But I think it's important for the athlete to understand here's where we are in the mix. And then just like coaches are trying to move the process forward as quickly as possible, I think the student athlete needs to realize that this is a competitive situation for them too. This is a competition. There's a limited amount of time that they have to make their decision. So the more questions that they ask at the start, the more understanding that they get of where they stand with that particular program, that particular coach, I think is to their advantage because they need to figure out what they need to do. So we're always an advocate for coaches to control the process and sort of move it forward on their timeline. If we're talking to the student athlete, this is your playing career. This is your college experience. To sit back and wait for somebody else to do something and to tell you what to do next, when maybe you could tell that coach, look, here's where my timeline is. Here's what I'm looking at. Here's right now off the top where I would see you in the mix. That's incredibly important that they communicate right away as soon as possible as the process starts to that coach that's contacting them for the first time.
We asked Dan for his advice if a player doesn't hear from the schools they are most interested in.
Every student athlete, every parent has their dream school or their set of dream schools for their student athlete, for the college career that you're going to embark on. Usually that's somebody that you've grown up watching, you admire the coach, you like the team, the size of the school, the type of the school. My encouragement for a student athlete that when you start out with a list of my favorite top 2 or 3 schools, and those are your holdout schools, and that's the dream school, and you're going to wait to take action on everybody else because you think you belong at one of those schools. Or maybe it's not even a school, maybe it's a certain division level or conference that your club coach you've been dreaming about. This is what kills a lot of college opportunities for student athletes, is they have their set sight on a particular thing that they think they qualify for, that they think they belong at. And even though you could play at that level or for that school, they might not be looking for your position. They might not be looking for your type of profile as a student athlete or as a student. So my encouragement would be for a family as they start this process to keep your options open, to not discount the school that's small that you've never heard of before, that isn't at a division level that you understand or want to play at right away. Keep that option open, engage with that coach, explain, hey, I don't know much about you, but I'm willing to listen, but here are my priorities. Again, it comes back to that communication. But the families that kind of block out and say, well, I would never go to that school or that division level, I think they're doing themselves a tremendous disservice, because there are things that work out that happen that you never expected to happen, or the coach that's the perfect fit might be at the school you've never heard of. You need to give that a chance if you're that student athlete looking for the opportunity to play in college, because I have to tell you, the NAIA and Division III programs that we work with, they're just that much from a talent standpoint, they're that much below D2, sometimes D1. So volleyball, there is so much talent out there. There is so much good volleyball talent on the court that you have to understand, you're competing not only with kids that in your specific region, you're competing across the country. And we see a lot of families make the mistake, I think, of assuming that, well, I'm going to go to this school because that's my dream school, or the club coach said they were going to be at this tournament and they saw me. Don't do that. You want as many possibilities as you can have in the process, going deep into the process. So at the end, you get to choose which one is the best for you. And it might surprise families which one ends up being the number one choice if they give it a shot.
And that is our recruiting tip of the week. Thanks for your membership in the Great Plains region.